This CD contains the opinions and thoughts of certain independent sales directors. The information shared with you by these individuals are their own ideas and strategies regarding the cultivation of a successful independent Mary Kay business. The independent sales directors hope that you find something in this CD to inspire you and to help you succeed in your own independent Mary Kay business. Naturally, your personal results may vary depending on the time and effort you choose to invest in your Mary Kay business. As with any business opportunity, various factors may affect the financial results that are achieved in your Mary Kay business. Therefore, there are no guarantees regarding same.
How many of you would like to learn more about self-motivation? Independent National Sales Director Kathy Goff Brummett understands the importance of learning how to motivate others. She is passionate about really understanding personality styles and learning what motivates people. Listen as she explains how motivation is at the heart of change and success.
You know, how many of you would agree that one of the skills that you really need to develop is how to motivate yourself? Would you like to learn more about self-motivation? How many of you are just a little bit weary and a little bit embarrassed that you still have to depend on somebody else to motivate you? And how many of you realize that you probably need the skill of motivating people? That maybe they are not at that maturity level to be able to motivate themselves yet. And so you want to own the skill just a little bit more of motivating them. What we're going to talk about is actually both those things. How we can better motivate ourselves and how we can work to motivate people as well. And I don't think we really have an understanding that we can motivate ourselves. If we can learn to understand ourselves better and learn to better understand what motivates us, then we can begin to motivate ourselves and to keep that motivation going. Let me just ask you this. Which lasts longer? The motivation that you receive from coming to an event or when you motivate yourself? Hopefully, motivate yourself. That would have been the correct answer. If we can get to the point that we do not have to go from event to event to event to event to event to get our motivation, then we start to soar. When we can learn to be motivated in all circumstances and in all situations, then it's only going to get better. Tamara Lowe says this about the importance of motivation. People who consider themselves very motivated earn more annually than those who consider themselves unmotivated. If you can learn to motivate yourself, you're going to make more money. So would that be a reason to learn better how to motivate yourself? She also says that people who consider themselves very motivated attain higher levels of personal happiness, are healthier and more focused. Would that be another great benefit of learning to motivate yourself? How many of you would love to be happy more? How many of you would love to be healthier? How many of you would love to be more focused? You know, probably one of the reasons that we are not as healthy as we would like to be is because we choose to eat the wrong foods, and we choose not to get on an exercise program and stick with it. Would y'all agree? And why do we not do those two things? We don't have the sustained motivation. Anybody ever started an exercise program on January 1st and gave it up on the 2nd? What's the problem? We don't have sustained motivation. That's the problem when our motivation has to come from outside sources. That's the problem when our motivation has to come from an event. How many times have you had unit members come with you to seminar or to career conference, and they are high as a kite? They are so excited, and before they get home, the bubble is burst. They walk in the door at home, and they learn that the kids ate M&Ms the whole time they were gone. And that no clothes have been washed and no dishes have been washed, and the husband acts like she's been out having a party. And that motivation is gone. It is because she depends on outside sources and circumstances to motivate her rather than learning to motivate herself. Tamara Lowe also says that goals are easier to attain and you have more excitement and more passion when you are motivated. Now, before we can ever even begin to achieve our goals, we have to learn how to manage the emotional highs and lows. You know, aren't we just funny creatures as women? Aren't we just like really funny creatures? We make our decisions based on emotion, don't we? That's pretty sad, is it not? We make decisions, important decisions, based on our emotions. How do you act when you come home from a $700 skincare class? How do you act when you come home from a zero class with 6 people there? Don't you agree that we should act the same way? If we've got motivation, internal motivation, sustained motivation, it should not be driven by the circumstances. Now, do you see why we drive our husbands crazy? He never knows what to expect, but he can gauge the size of the class by the emotion when we walk in the door. And if he is a smart man, he will learn when to ask, "How was that class?" He knows the answer long before he asks. You know, Mary Kay told us that we needed to embrace our femininity, that we needed to look like women, and we needed to act like women. But she told us we needed to think like a man. Think like a man and stop being driven by emotions. Well, if we're going to get a handle on this, we've got to first of all know what pulls us down. What is it that can knock me off that peak, that high emotional peak? Now, we're going to be looking at this from 2 different perspectives. One is, how can I learn enough about myself and have a better understanding of myself to self-motivate? But also, how do I learn enough about people to know how to keep them motivated until they learn to self-motivate? So I want you to be thinking along 2 paths. How do I self-motivate, and how do I motivate people until they get to the point that they can do that? It is okay to be disappointed. It is okay to be disappointed. Life is filled with disappointing things. When you own your own business, you can expect a lot of disappointments. But it is not okay to allow disappointments to become discouragements. Disappointment, we have no control over, because we have no control over what happens or what other people do. Discouragement, we have total control over that. We have total control over whether disappointing things discourage us. So we have to make that decision. No longer will I allow disappointments to discourage me. And then we have to decide, what will we do when disappointing things happen? So as we're thinking about this, I want you to just begin to jot down, what are the things that disappoint you? What are the things in your business that disappoint you? Does it disappoint you when a class postpones? Does it disappoint you when you invest 2 hours and facial 6 people and nobody buys anything? Does it disappoint you when you prepare for a unit meeting and nobody shows up? Before you can learn to self-motivate, you have to know what it is that disappoints you. Identify and make a list of what disappoints me. And now that I have made the decision that I will never again allow disappointments to discourage me, then what is my plan of action? When this happens now, it will not discourage me any longer. How will I handle it? We have to know exactly what we're going to do. It is inevitable that disappointments will come. It is inevitable that disappointments will come. Mary Kay always said she had the bloodiest knees of anybody. She had disappointments. She had things happen to her that were not pleasant. I realized 2 things about myself very quickly, things that I knew would disappoint me, but things that I also knew if I didn't have a plan B, they would discourage me. I knew myself well enough to know that. I knew that I could be easily discouraged, even though that was a choice. First of all, I knew that if classes postponed, that would just knock me flat. that if somebody had committed to hold a party for me and I had everything ready and it was in my date book, if that phone rang and she postponed, I knew that would just knock me flat. How many of you had that feeling? I could not stand the thought of a class postponing. Well, you better get over that pretty quickly. So I said, okay, I have to know what I'm going to do every time it happens because I cannot control the circumstances. I cannot control the situation. I cannot control the fact that somebody else's child gets sick 5 minutes before we're supposed to have a Mary Kay party. I cannot control all of those things, but I can control how I react to the disappointment. So I decided every time a class postponed, I would go immediately to my desk and I would take that 2-hour time period and I would make telephone calls until I sold $150 worth of product and booked 2 parties. I would go straight to the phone. I would not stop making calls until I sold $150 worth of product and I booked 2 parties, and I could get up and say, I had a party and I don't have to clean my mirrors. Same results. And so that was how I handled that. So every time my phone rang and it was a class that postponed, I knew what plan B was. I didn't have to be discouraged. I didn't even have to be disappointed because I knew now we moved to plan B. So you see, until you identify what those things are, you can't fix them. So you identify them and then you get the plan. The other thing that I knew I would not be able to handle about this business, I was like S off the chart. That was my personality. And I knew that I could not stand to go from a $500 class to a zero class, to a $500 class to a zero class, because I knew that for me, my emotions would be constantly high, low, high, low. And you know, S personalities don't do very well with high, low. We just got to kind of have it steady and even. So I said, okay, here's how I'll handle that. I'm not going to allow myself to focus on the amount of sales at any class. Now, I would know what the sales were because I was figuring hostess credit and all that. But I wasn't going to be focused on, okay, this was a $500 class. Okay, this was a zero class. What I would do was I would add all my sales at the end of the week. And then I would see, here's what I sold this week. And you know what was interesting about that? Almost every week, it would be just about the same total. Some weeks, I might not have as many parties, but the reorders would be greater. Or the next week, I might have low parties, but the reorders would be greater. It just pretty much evened out. So those were the 2 things I identified very quickly and very early that I knew would be discouragements for me, and I got them fixed because I didn't want to live that way. Motivation is at the heart of achievement. You cannot have achievement in this business without motivation. But as leaders, we do not want to any longer depend on somebody else to motivate us. We want to take control of that. We want to become the motivator. Motivation is at the heart of change. And motivation is at the heart of success. Now, one part of motivation is really knowing and understanding personality styles. And we're going to touch on that. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because I know y'all have mastered the personality style training. But what you might not have really thought a lot about is that it does play into motivation. And it does play into motivating yourself. We want to be able to understand that every person can be motivated. When you've got that person in your unit that you have probably said, I cannot get her motivated to, the reason is you don't understand what motivates her. You don't understand what motivates her. So every person can be motivated, but we are motivated differently by different things. Another thing we want to understand is that the things that inspire and excite one person will cause another person to become totally disengaged and become totally demotivated. So, you know, just as we've been taught as sales directors that when we stand in front of a unit meeting, we cannot conduct that meeting from our personality style, or we lose 3/4 of our audience. We have got to be sure that that meeting appeals to every personality style, and we have to mirror every one of them. In the same way, we have to be certain that we work individually with people according to what motivates them. I cannot just take what motivates me and try to motivate everyone. It won't work. It will only motivate the ones who are motivated by the same things that motivate me. And then another thing we have to understand is that there's not any one particular way of motivating people that's better than any other, just like there's not any one personality style that's better than the other. It's just really beginning to understand what motivates each person and how to motivate her. There are several ways to approach this. When you're working to motivate a person in your unit, you cannot motivate that person without investing time into communication. You have got to be willing to have one-on-one communication if you hope to motivate someone. And then that communication has got to appeal to what motivates her. There's got to be relationship building. Okay, so let's just talk for a minute about a person that you know is a D personality. Maybe that's you. How do I motivate myself if I'm a strong D personality? If I'm sitting down to work with this key person and she's a strong D personality, how can I take what I know about her personality and learn how to motivate her? We know that people who are D personalities are motivated by independence. So I need to give her independence. I don't need to be trying to tell her what to do and giving her a mold to fit into. That won't motivate her if she's a D personality. So I've got to be willing to give her independence. I've got to be willing to let her be in control. This is coming from now a strong D, so I can say that. She will be motivated if she's in control of her situation. She will be motivated if she has freedom to develop ideas and to implement ideas. So you see, if I try to just railroad her down one pathway, I'm going to demotivate her. So I've got to understand that about her. She's going to be motivated by achieving the impossible. So I need to be sure that I'm not trying to motivate her to the next level on the career path, but to the one above that. She's not interested in what's the next step. She's interested in what's 3 steps up. She is also motivated by breaking records. Whose record do you want her to break? You've got to find some record for her to break. She's also motivated by challenges, and she's motivated by contests. And she's also motivated when you tell her that nobody else can do it better than her. So you might ask her something like, what would it mean to you to be able to accomplish this goal? What are you willing to do to achieve this goal? Let's talk about self-motivation if you're a D personality. A D personality can self-motivate when she understands, I've got to have a clear goal. I am a strong D personality. I have to have goals. And I have to have goals not in one area of my life, but in lots of areas of my life. Last year, I had a goal, a physical goal, a financial goal, and a spiritual goal. I had those goals set in place January 1st. This year, I have my spiritual goal, clarity. I'm still fuzzy on the other 2, and it's driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy. Now, it might not drive you crazy. I got to get that fixed. So you see, that goal is important. If I understand that about myself on January 1st, I'll have it clear. It'll be in the sand. There'll be no more discussion about it. It'll be taken care of. So as a D personality, you can't self-motivate without a clear goal that you have clarity on. As with a D personality, if you want to motivate yourself, you have to have a step-by-step plan. This is so true. With my physical goal last year, I had a goal to walk 1,000 miles on my treadmill in 2010. Well, that wasn't good enough. I had to break it down into how many is that per week? How many is that per day? You see, I had to have step by step, and I had to know I got to hit this many today, and by this date, I got to be right here. Are y'all with me? D personalities, you've got to have this step-by-step plan. If you are a D personality trying to motivate yourself, you have to have a deadline. Whether you're working a monthly goal, weekly goal, yearly goal, on December 31st, what do you think I was doing? I was walking my last mile because it was December 31st, doggone it, and I wasn't going to sleep till the last mile was done. You see, we have to have those deadlines. And if you're a D personality, you will be motivated if you're constantly trying to beat your own record. Constantly trying to beat your own record. Okay, let's talk for a minute about the I personalities. I personalities are motivated by adventure, and they're motivated by change. They're motivated by a relaxed schedule with a flexible deadline. The I personality would never get 1,000 miles done in a year. That is way too structured. Now, she's going to get it done someday. I would drive her crazy if I tried to get her to do a 1,000-mile plan with me, because we got to have this much done by this day, and we got to have this much. Do you see the difference? That I personality's got to have that flexible schedule. She's motivated by learning something new. She's motivated by being the center of attention, by exploring new ideas, by having options. D personality doesn't need a lot of options. The I personality is motivated if she has a lot of options. She's motivated by variety. She's motivated by the power to adapt to her task and to adapt to a schedule. She's motivated by opportunities for personal growth and for the freedom to choose her own course. So if you're working with an I personality and you're trying to motivate her, it's got to be all about fun and a party and some adventure and some recognition, and she gets to be the center of attention. And it can't be structured, and it can't be deadlines. It's just she's got to have that freedom. Can you see how difficult it is for somebody like me to try to motivate an I? And can you just feel the pain for that I? I'm like, get a plan and a schedule, and for goodness sake, stay up till midnight to get that mile done today. If you are an I and you are trying to learn to do a better job of self-motivating, here are some things you can do. Run contest with yourself. Now see, even the terminology has to be different. A contest with yourself is beating your best. But a D doesn't understand. You can't say the same words. It's the same thing. For the D, it's like you got to beat your best week. For an I, it's like, let's have a contest and see if you can do. Yeah, I mean, it can't even say the same words. But we're trying to say the same words and put people in a little pigeonhole. Now, also, the I's got to have a prize, but the D doesn't. The prize for the D is just knowing I did it. You don't have to give me a prize for walking 1,000 miles. I know I did it. That was my prize. But the I, there's got to be a big old ribbon that she can hang on her bathroom mirror that she walked 1,000 miles. And there's probably got to be some kind of cheesecake treat with it, too. And it would probably involve inviting some other people to go. Y'all, we're leaders. If we can't motivate ourselves, we cannot motivate others. But if I cannot motivate myself, how in the world am I going to motivate you? If I don't even understand enough about me to motivate me, I certainly can't motivate you. The I personality, if you're that I personality, you've got to have a lot of different things to do. For me, 1,000 miles, treadmill. For the I, well, I think today I'll walk outside. I think today I'll go to the park. I think tomorrow I'll go to the Coliseum and just walk around the Coliseum. You see the difference? Same thing, but different ways to motivate her. Let's talk about the S personality. The S personality is motivated by having quality time with her family and friends. She's motivated by very sincere compliments and encouragement. She's motivated by a work environment that will allow socialization. It motivates her to be wanted and needed. Harmony and peace motivate her. A leisurely pace, open-ended time frames, group activities, and she will be motivated by having time with you, to talk to you and to bond with you and to learn from you. So here's a couple of questions you could ask her. Is there a goal you want to achieve that you think would make your family proud? Simple. How are you going to feel and how will your family feel when you've met this goal? How do you think our unit is going to celebrate this goal that you meet? You see, just simply getting her to think in terms of what motivates her. If you are an S personality, some things that will help you to self-motivate are giving yourself a goal to meet with a prize that includes your family. If I hold 10 classes a month, it's a night out for my family. If I hold 10 classes a month, we get to go to dinner, we get to go to a movie, we get to do something fun. Not only will that motivate you, it will motivate your family to keep you motivated. An S personality needs a schedule and a to-do list. And so if you are an S personality and you're trying to reach the next car, you've got to have the schedule. You've got to break it down into what does that look like in a 6-month period? Well, what does that look like in a 3-month period? Well, what does that look like this month? Well, what does that look like this week? The S personality's got to have it broken down, and then she's got to know this is what I have to do this week. And when I do this week, I'm going to spend an hour watching a TV show with my kids. So learn how to stop trying to be motivated by what motivates your national. Stop trying to be motivated by what motivates your best friend. If your national throws out a contest or the company throws out a contest, you can't sit with your friend and say, okay, how are we going to win this contest? You have to get alone. And you have to think through what you want to accomplish. And you have to say, what would motivate me? And y'all, there is a big place where we miss it. We're not thinking and planning for what motivates us. We're coming to an event, they're throwing out a contest, and we are so excited, and we're running out the door, and I'm going to win that contest. What we should be doing is going and getting in a corner, quiet, alone, taking 15 minutes and say, okay, the company has given us this contest. These are the rules. I'm winning it. But what do I need to do? What needs to be my plan? Do I need a goal poster? Do I need a prize? Do I need a party? Do I need time with my family? Do I need to just know that I've done it? Just taking a contest, taking a goal, and just sitting down and thinking, what motivates me toward doing that? Okay, the C personality is motivated by making a difference, by making a mark on the world. C personalities want time to think, and they want time to process. The C personality wants verbal appreciation for their hard work. They're motivated when they have a clearly defined objective and when they understand the why behind what they do. They want to be heard. They want to be understood. So if you've got a C personality in your unit and you want to get her motivated to win that bracelet by career conference, these are some of the kind of things that you would ask her. Wouldn't you love to be recognized for your hard work at career conference? Would you like to see the details of how to win that bracelet? I could check in with you every week and just see how you're progressing toward that. That's how you would talk to that C personality to help motivate her. If you are a C personality, how do you self-motivate? You schedule think time. You schedule think time in your date book. Before you go to seminar, before you go to leadership, before you go to career conference, you take your date book out and you schedule a time to sit down and think through everything you just heard and everything that just was presented and how you're going to take what was presented and use it. If you are a C personality, you don't try to take everything you heard and go put it in place. You take your highlighter, you go through your notes, you highlight everything that jumps out at you, then you take the highlights and you choose 3, 4, or 5 to work on. It's what motivates you, but we're trying to be motivated by what motivates our best friend. Another thing that will motivate a C personality is having that schedule, that definite schedule of what to do and when to do it. You know, we just need to remember that when we are trying to motivate someone else, it's not important what motivates me. We as sales directors, as leaders, need to spend more think time and plan time than probably anything else we do. Anything else we do. Because we just rush in to try to handle everything according to our personality style and according to what motivates us. Before we're going to have a conversation with a key person, there should be some quiet time. I like to call it pre-profiling. We understand pre-profiling a skincare class. We need to sit down and we need to think about that person. I have a file on each director, and in that file, I have her personality test, and I have her strength test, and I have her leadership test, and I have her motivation test. And if I'm going to spend time talking with her for 15 minutes before we get on the phone, I pull that file out. Because if I don't, that call is going to go according to a D personality. I'm going to tell her everything she needs to do. And if I do that, I'm going to demotivate. If I'm going to motivate, I have to understand her personality style, her strengths, her leadership style, and her motivation style. I just want to encourage you to make a decision. No longer do I need an event to motivate me. I can self-motivate.